and you would get a kick out of that. But I think, Marva, at this time, we certainly need to introduce your guest, Mr. Linwood Jackson. Mr. Jackson is the secretary of the NAACP Delaware State Conference and the vice president of the Wilmington branch, NAACP. Mr. Jackson, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I must say I am a little nervous, surrounded by such lovely ladies here. Listening to your stories was just like actually, fascinating to me. I'm just happy to be here. Thank you, Marva, for inviting me. Also, with my civil rights activities and duties, I also happen to be a proud supporter of the International Boxing Hall of Fame. I go up every year to their induction ceremony and participate and support the boxers throughout the country. And we all know Mr. Butch Lewis was a big part of boxing.
Absolutely.
And so he worked with a lot of the fighters that are inductees in the International Boxing Hall of Fame. So I am proud to be here today. I'm glad you invited me to help pay tribute to one of Delaware's brightest stars and one of boxing's true legends, Mr. Ronald E. Mr. B. Lewis. And so I'm just honored to be here and to help you guys talk about that. Thank you.
Well, that's not all, is it? Well, he thinks he's going to get away with that. You've got a lot on that paper. Nope.
Well, I did take a lot of notes, throughout the history of boxing. I don't know if we here, your panelists are aware of a lot of the contributions that Mr. Lewis made in the boxing throughout history, from Jack Johnson, who broke the color line in sports, actually, when he became the heavyweight champion of the world, the first black man to do so. When he fought Jeffries in July 4th, 1910. It was billed then as the fight of the century. Well, all the way up into modern times, all the fighters up until that time, or up until this time, never made like a lot of money. I think one of your panelists was talking about the money being made, but none of them was millionaires until I'm trying to think of the first black boxing promoter, but Mr. Lewis was the second black boxing promoter to bring success into the boxing world and to make the fighters like a lot of money, millionaires actually, and they were able to keep their money. So I'm thinking of Don King. Don King was the first black boxing promoter, and until Mr. Lewis, he became the second successful boxing promoter. Now that's significant because up until that time, like we said, the fighters weren't making any money, any real money. And these guys came on the scene and broke records and able to, like Butch Lewis promoted the Rumble in the Jungle along with Mr. Don King and Bob Arum, who Butch was working with at the time. And they made big money. It became the fight of the century then. Then Mr. Lewis happened to work with, we all know the Spinks brothers, both of them of which were heavyweight champions. The first two brothers that were heavyweight champions at that time. Now we have the Klitschko brothers over in Germany. But here we have local, here in Delaware, the heavyweight champions, and that Mr. Butch Lewis helped to achieve that level. And in that fight, the fight that he promoted with Michael Spinks and Mike Tyson, at that time was the highest grossing payday in boxing history. And it was billed also as the fight of the century. We all know the outcome of that fight. It was a great fight though. And at that time it was historic in that Butch was able to bring the Spinks brothers up, Leon Spinks, to beat Muhammad Ali, to become heavyweight champion of the world. It was just a great fight and historic again. And then to work with Michael Spinks and take him to the heavyweight division from light heavyweight. Michael Spinks was a great light heavyweight champion, a legend in the light heavyweight weight class, actually. And he ascended to the heavyweight division, became heavyweight champion of the world, working with Mr. B, Butch Lewis. So I don't know how much you want me to go on.
Well, listen, we're going to take a short break, but we're going to go into your involvement, and this is where I think you're going to be come in really big. And then also, you know, we're expecting Mr. Sonny Bono that you've had several times on your program.
Are we on?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to let you know that we have been joined by Pastor Sadie Bronson. We're so glad you're here. It's nice to meet you.
God bless you,
and
baby.
your daughter, I'm sorry I didn't catch your name?
I'm Tracy.
Tracy, it's good to meet you. You guys are just glowing.
Sparkles.
I know.
Now, you know you better than that. I love sparkles, Mr. Linwood. You got to forgive me on the TV.
But I'd like to hear about how you knew Mr. Lewis.
How I met Mr. Lewis?
Butch Lewis.
Oh, Butch
Yes.
Lewis. Oh, my God.
Yes.
I am so sorry. I knew Butch, and I knew Savannah. Oh, my God. I can't believe I'm here today.
Yeah.
But anyway, I kind of introduced them. Wow.
Yes.
But anyway, I worked at a, that's been many years ago.
Yes.
But what I want to say, when you came into Butch's presence, you changed. Either it was good or the bad. But I wasn't around him like a lot of people, but I was around the fruit of him, Savannah. And I would like to say that she became one of the greatest women I know. Because if he touched your life, he was the type of person that he brought the best out of you. And I would say, you know how the church is and you coach people, and we're supposed to bring the best out of people? Well, that's what he did. If you hung around him and you took him serious, and he would bring the best out of you. I don't care where you was in life, he brought the best out. And I was at the funeral, and that's what I heard, that's what I saw. And not only did I see that, I said, God, if there was an apostle, he was apostle of men. He represent men in such a way to bring the little boy, to bring healing, to bring greatness. And that's what I saw. And not only did I see it, I heard it out of people's mouths. So he was a great man. And I thank God that we got to know him.
Yes, yes.
You know, and he's gone now, but as many people have the fruit of Butch Lewis in their lives.
How did you meet him?
I met him through Joe Frazier. You know, I was a barmaid, and that's where I met them. They came in the rendezvous. And
I met Joe Frazier once.
yes, and really I met Butch before then, because my sister-in-law, his brother John was married to my sister-in-law's sister, and I was at the wedding. And that's when I first met Butch in Chester. So.
Yeah, see, it's a small world, and there's no such thing as don't. Please, even my children don't. We don't even believe in the word don't. You did. You know, when you went into Mr. Lewis's home, don't say you couldn't do this.
That's right.
You learned.
Yes.
You learned how to be thorough. You learned how to pick up the pace. You learned, and if I could think of a song that would describe him, I did it my way.
Amen.
Remember we talked
That's
about
good.
that? We did it my way. And you know, you just had to have, even though he might have been a little rough, you had to respect.
That's
he was trying to
right.
get you to a place. And it took that roughness from him to get us. You see how I am now.
That's right.
I get a little, you know, but every now and then the people that come into your life, you know, like when I found out about the loss of him, things began to resurface.
Yes.
Just as though I was in his home that day. You follow where I'm going? Yes. Tracy, how are you doing? That's her daughter.
I'm doing